Last episode, I told y'all I hadn't even talked about the gym yet. Well, let's talk about the gym because when I asked him where the married men meet each other, I thought he was going to tell me a website. I thought he was going to tell me a club. I thought he was going to actually say a hotel. Y'all, this man said the gym. I said, "You lie." He said, "No, the gym." Now, before everybody starts to get offended, let me be clear. Nobody's saying that every man at the gym is gay. That's not what he said. What he said was there are men in those places looking for each other. And when I asked him how they recognize each other, he said, it's about eye contact. It's a look, a stare, the way somebody carries themselves, things most people wouldn't even notice. And I'm sitting there thinking, now, wait a minute, the gym? He said, the same place people are trying to lose 20 pounds and mind their business, that's where they are. Baby, apparently there's a whole lot more going on in the gym than cardio. Then we got into something else that really caught my attention. We started talking about the homeboy. Now, do y'all remember in part one when I told y'all some women are looking for Delilah and the whole time it's Samson? Well, this is where that conversation got a little deeper. Because according to him, sometimes the homeboy isn't just the homeboy. Sometimes it's the workout partner, the golf buddy, the road trip buddy, the man who's always around, the man that nobody questions, the man that everybody trusts. And whether you agree with him or not, that's what he told me. Then I asked him about married men. I said, now how common is this? He said, all the time. Married men, men with girlfriends, men with children, men with families. Then he introduced me to a term I had never heard before, lavender marriage. I said, wait, hold up. What's a lavender marriage? And then he explained it's a relationship where a woman knows. She's not suspicious. She doesn't wonder. She actually knows. According to him, some women know exactly who they're married to. Those women choose to stay right there. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that's a whole nother conversation in itself. Because some women are victims of deception. Some women are suspicious, yeah. And according to him, some women know exactly what's happening and they choose to stay anyway. Now, baby, that's complicated. All right. So then we started talking about apps. Y'all know I'm always curious. I'm always asking questions. So I said, what's Grinder? Jacked. And when he explained how some of those apps work, I remember thinking, how many people are walking around with whole second lives and nobody knows about? How many people are sitting at work, at church, at family functions, living a completely different life than anybody else sees? Then I asked him something else. I said, would people be shocked if they saw your inbox? He didn't even hesitate. He said, yeah, family men, church men, men everybody think they know. Now, we're not talking about strangers. We're talking about communities, hometowns. We're talking about people sitting beside us every single day. Then we talked about church, pastors, community leaders, respected men. No, I'm not naming names. We're not going to do that. But what struck me most often was about image. We just kept, that word just kept showing up. In every conversation, the word image, reputation, appearance, what people want you to see versus what they keep hidden. I asked him something that I've always wondered. I asked him, the men who are extremely homophobic, the men who will always have something negative to say, the men who always seem angry, are they the ones? According to him, some of the loudest people in the room are fighting battles nobody else can see. Now, before somebody crashes out and gets mad, I'm not saying every homophobic person is secretly gay. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you what he told me. And what he told me was that sometimes people who scream the loudest are the ones struggling with things they're not ready to admit. And truth be told, that made me more sad because image and reputation takes precedence over you being your true self. Imagine spending your whole life fighting yourself. And by this point in the conversation, I realized something. This wasn't really a conversation about sex, secrets, about image, about fear, about what people hide, about stories people tell each other. And sometimes we're lying to ourselves. The more questions I asked, the more I realized this world had its own language. It had its own rules, its own definitions. And baby, we haven't even got to the part that really had me confused. We haven't talked about the loopholes. We haven't talked about the men who still call themselves straight. We haven't talked about the prep. And we definitely haven't talked about power bottoms. Because when this man said power bottom, I said, wait,